Here's what I'm saying. Don't judge yourself when those things come up. Allow those conversations to hold space. Allow them to float through. Allow them to flow. Because sometimes we block our flow when we try to block emotions. We try to block truths. We try to block everything that is right there before us. We're trying to block it as if it's not true, as if it's not there, and if it's not what it is. Allow it to be what it is. Let it pass through. Find out what it is that it is trying to communicate to you so that you can show up fully as who you are. Welcome to the Multi-Dimensional Intelligence Podcast. My name is Clifton Pettyjohn. I am your host. Join me as I engage in ingenious conversations with you, as well as with top creators from around the world. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Multi-Dimensional Intelligence Podcast. You already know who I am from the intro. My name is Clifton Pettyjohn. I am your host. I am also your finance mindset coach, your financial locksmith. I teach highly creative professionals how to unlock and embrace the flow of their financial intelligence. And if you are wondering if you are one of them highly creative professionals, yes, I am talking to you. There is financial intelligence within you. You may have told yourself, I just don't understand it. It just doesn't make sense to me. How about instead of saying that, you say, I'm unlocking and embracing the language of my financial intelligence. Say it with me. I am unlocking and embracing the language of my financial intelligence. You don't need to know everything about finances, but you do need to tap into your financial language. You need to tap into your financial language because that's where your wealth is, all right? I'm excited to be with you. It has been a while since we released an episode. I want you to stay tuned. We have some exciting news. We're not going to make it this episode, but we have some exciting news, and I want you to stay tuned, y'all, because it's going to be dope, and you're going to love it, and it's going to be crazy what's about to take place with the Multi-Dimensional Intelligence Podcast. Let's do our breathing exercises. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Breathe out. Oh, that feels so good. Take another deep breath in. Hold it. Breathe out. Now, if you were able to complete that exercise with me, here's what you did. You took the energy that you have left in your past, that causes you to keep replaying your past, your woulda, your shoulda, your couldas. You've brought that energy to the present. You went into the possibilities of the future that you keep dreaming about and thinking about and imagining that, guess what, guys? It's still too small. We're bringing it here to the present. We are merging those two energies with the present energy. Okay. Now listen, we are not making past energy, present energy. We're not making present energy, past energy. We're not making present energy, future energy. We're not making future energy, past energy. We're not making future energy, present energy, and we are not making past energy, future energy. We are allowing those energies to be who they are, to exist here in the present as who they are. We're merging them together, and those three things are creating a synergy, and that synergy, my friend, is you. That is your best self. That is your most aware self. That is your most present self, and that is the self that I am talking to right now. Okay, so as I said, it's been a while. It has been a long time. Did you miss me? Don't lie. Don't even try to lie. I know some of you missed me. Some of you didn't. And I don't care. No, I'm playing with y'all. I'm playing. I missed y'all. I missed the conversations that we have, And I'm excited about where our conversations are going and growing. where our conversations are going and growing. And today we're going to have a conversation about showing up and taking risk. I came to a realization this year. Recently, matter of fact, I'm not even gonna pretend like, oh yeah, this year I came to a realization. No, I recently came to a realization that I am a person that either shows up fully as I am, shows up hesitant in who I am, doubting who I am, or I just don't show up at all. Or I show up, but where I show up is not in the space that I need to show up, or the space that desires or requires or yearns for me to show up. I've been fearful of some of the spaces that have wanted me to show up. I've been fearful of what it may require of me. I've been fearful of what it may show about me. I've been fearful of what it may show me. I've been fearful about those things. I've been fearful about who else may show up or what else may show up. I've been fearful about all of those things. And because I had submitted to that fear and I had allowed myself to, I guess, serve that fear, it began to affect how I showed up, when I showed up, and what I showed up as. You've already heard the story about me hiding out in the personal development space and been very resistant to myself in the financial space. You've heard that. So that was an area that I just would not show up. And I would give you little advice here and there, and I'd give you advice that would work for you. And I know it would work for you, and I know it was good advice, and I knew that I was giving you advice that can I be honest, that you normally would have to pay for. And I knew the advice would work, yet I still lacked the confidence in myself and who I was giving that advice. So I didn't show up. I didn't take the risk of showing up. And fast forward, probably about a week ago, I was scheduled to speak at an event in Indianapolis, okay? And it was a retreat, the identity retreat. Now, I want you to head over to www.yoursupernormal.com because we've rescheduled that identity retreat and I want you to be a part of it with me. So I was scheduled to go there, and from a financial aspect, being transparent, from a financial aspect, things were not, to me, they were not aligning the way that I wanted them to align. They were not aligning the way that I wanted them to align. And one of my biggest struggles with being a finance mindset coach is the wrestling with my mindset and the wrestling with my relationship with finances and my view of finances all the way back to my childhood. And preparing for this identity retreat, I had to begin to take a journey back to my childhood to face some of those things. And what I realized was that I still was identifying certain situations as I was identifying them as a child. Hear me out. I was identifying them as a child because to me, finances was a traumatic experience for me. So I never allowed my view of it to mature because I kept rejecting my maturity of it. Whenever you reject something, it remains in that space in your life where you rejected it. See, I wasn't just rejecting myself as a financial coach or a finance mindset coach. I wasn't just rejecting myself as that. I was rejecting the reality or the truth of wealth in my life. I was rejecting that in my life. And because I was rejecting it in my life, what I was doing was building a barrier between the flow and me, which in turn, because I am the flow, I was building a barrier within me against me. That make any sense? It may not, but it's gonna make sense. All right. So I was building that barrier, and as I was building that barrier, I realized where I stopped taking risk. Where I stopped taking risks. Now you have to understand, as I said, you have to develop your own financial language and tap into your financial intelligence. And we can have a full conversation about that. I want you to reach out to me if you want to have that conversation, okay? You have to develop your own financial language and the relationship between you and your financial intelligence, because some of the things that I might say may be controversial to you, or they may not seem like sound financial advice. But I'm talking about my flow in this instance. If I was talking to you about your flow, I may not give you the advice that I give myself because we might have different flows. You feel what I'm saying? So I realized I wasn't taking any risk in life, in any area of my life, even down to relationships. But we're not going to talk about that. Like, what? I refuse to take risk. And what I would do was I would start identifying things that I normally wouldn't do as risk. There wasn't no risk. It was just normal things in life. So I had to come face to face now with the willingness to take a risk in order to break down the barrier that was hindering the flow. And when I talk about the flow, I don't want you just to think about money, but I do want you to think about money. I want you to think about money, but I don't want you to think about just money. Because money is important with the flow, but money is not the flow. You hear what I said? Money is important with the flow, but money is not the flow. And that we could have a whole conversation about what your currency is, and being able to identify your currency, and being able to allow your currency to have value in today's market. And we could have a whole conversation around that. But guess what? We're not having that conversation here on the podcast, but we can have that conversation, okay? Because I want you to be able to unlock your currency so that it can translate into money. And then you can take that money and translate it into something else. Okay, that's the flow of it. That's the flow of it. Okay. Whenever our currency is not translating into money so that it can translate into something else, there's a blockage there. And I realized my blockage was in my ability to connect enough with myself to take risk. I didn't take risk because I was overthinking everything and I wasn't looking at currency. I was just looking at the lack of flow of finances in my life. Now you might say, why are you on here talking about this and you want me to hire you as my finance mindset coach and you talking about your money not even flowing? Yeah, I only had time for that. Anyway, what I'm saying is I realized that it was not a matter of the flow, my flow financially, but it was my flow in my identity. As I talk about identity work, I talk about how it is something that is continuous and continuous and continuous. And some of you might say, Cliff, I don't agree with that because I know a lot of people don't know who they are and they got money. And I promise you, they do have money. They do have money. They are honoring some of the universal laws in relationship with money. But are they honoring the universal laws in relationship to currency and identity. And how do they live with their money? What are they doing with their money? Are they unhappy even with that money? What I want my clients to have, I want my clients to have a flow of happiness, a flow of wealth, a flow of money, a flow of currency, a flow in their life. In every area, in every core area of their lives, I want them to be able to flow. And sometimes that does not come with you just having money. We've seen it. We've seen it. I've had money. I've had large sums of money, and I've had no money. I've had them both. I've learned how to live and survive with and without it. I lived in scarcity with a lot of money. I lived in scarcity without a lot of money. I lived in freedom with a lot of money. I've lived in freedom without a lot of money. So I've experienced all of that. But what I understood, I had to come to the understanding of, is that it's not the money, it's the flow. How do you flow? How do you flow? How do you flow? And some of us, we just don't flow. We don't allow ourselves to flow. I did not allow myself to do that. I just didn't and I'll be there and I will celebrate all of your accomplishments and I will be there for you and I will come and I will support. But I wasn't taking risk for myself so that you could come and support. I wasn't doing it. I wasn't showing up. I wasn't showing up for me. And the way that I was showing up for other people, if I did show up for me, I wasn't showing up in that manner. I was disrespectful to me. I was disrespectful to my value in my currency. And I'd scratch value. I was disrespectful to my currency because we can have that. That's a whole nother conversation we could have as well. But I was disrespectful to my currency because I did not value. It's just like, okay, we have the stock market and we have the value of the dollar. And then we have value of other currencies in other countries. The value of the dollar is different in China than it is in the United States. The value of the Chinese currency, I can't remember the name of it, Chinese currency is different in China than it is in the United States. And sometimes that changes from day to day. That changes from day to day. But what we do sometimes is we're in the United States. This is us. This is no longer the United States. This is Cliff. The value of Cliff as a currency. And here's the value of, I don't know, anybody else, okay? The value of Cliff is set at a certain amount, okay? Now, Cliff goes over to somebody else's country. Now, Cliff may not be as valued or may be equally as valued or may be more valued in that person's country, okay? When Cliff comes back, he doesn't bring his own value. Now he measures his value off of the value of his currency, off of the value of the currency of the country of the person he just came from. Did that make sense? I hope it made sense. I know it made sense. And I don't hope it made sense. I know it made sense. That hope crap. I know it made sense. This is why it's important to have that personal relationship with yourself and that respect and value of your currency and what you have to offer. I think I shared it with you guys that my identity strategist, Michael Weston, you hear me talk about him all the time. You may get tired of it. I don't care. But anyway, he asked me, what did I have a wealth of? What did I have a wealth of? And I started a list, and now I keep adding to that list. I keep adding to that list. I have a wealth of conversation. I have a wealth of information. I have a wealth of intelligence. I have a wealth of, I have a whole list over here. it's a long list that I have, because I realized that I was not valuing it at the time that he asked it. But every time something comes up and I realize, oh, that's another wealth. That's something that I can value. That adds more to my currency. That adds more to the value of my currency, because now I'm allowing myself to be open to that dimension of who I am, taking risks. So here I'm coming to speak at this retreat, and I'm excited about going. I'm really excited, and I'm excited because this is the first time I'm going to talk about finances publicly in years, because as I said, I hit out in that personal development space, and things just aren't going the way that I want them to go. So now I have to make the decision, because I've already purchased the ticket. Tickets already been purchased. Already been purchased. Now I have to decide, am I going to get on the plane, or am I going to stay home and cry my weekend out because I didn't get my way? And for the first time in a long time in my life, I got on the plane without knowing anything, yet knowing everything. Hear me out. I got on the plane not knowing anything, yet knowing everything. And when I touched down in Indianapolis, everything that I needed was there waiting for me. When I touched down in Indianapolis, everything that I needed was there waiting for me. And the greatest, I can't say lesson, but the greatest reminder that gave me was, all you have to do is show up. Stop trying to process and figure out everything else, and just show up. Take the risk of showing up. You will not be embarrassed. You will not be disappointed. You will not be made fun of, because these are the things that go through my mind. And when I say made fun of and embarrassed, I'm not even talking about externally. I'm talking about the conversations that I have internally within myself. I just didn't want to look stupid. I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to appear this way and appear that way. Like, these are the conversations I was having internally within myself. And I allow those conversations. Here's what I'm saying. Don't judge yourself when those things come up. Allow those conversations to hold space. Allow them to float through. Allow them to flow. Because sometimes we block our flow when we try to block emotions. We try to block truths. We try to block everything that is right there before us. We're trying to block it as if it's not true, as if it's not there, and if it's not what it is. Allow it to be what it is. Let it pass through. Find out what it is that it is trying to communicate to you, so that you can show up fully as who you are. So I showed up. And when I showed up, everything that I needed was there for me. Now, the retreat got rescheduled, and we're going back in June. Okay. I want you to head over to www.yoursupernormal.com. I want you to register for the retreat. But that was a retreat that I needed. A retreat. I had to learn how to retreat myself before I could speak at anyone's retreat about anything. I had to be reminded of how to treat myself. So it was my personal retreatment of myself. My personal retreatment of myself. Now, what I'm hoping this episode will serve for you is a personal retreatment for yourself, where you will remember times that you took risk and what was waiting for you in those risks. And I don't want you to see the risk from the viewpoint of disappointment or the viewpoint of it just didn't work out. I want you to really see it for purely what it was. I want you to see that risk. I want you to hear the experience of that risk. I want you to have that internal experience of that risk. And then after you do that, I want you now to begin to take risks in areas of your life that you wouldn't allow yourself to take them. Allow yourself to take those risks. You're worth the risk. You, my friend, are worth the risk. Take those risks on yourself. Areas of relationships, areas of finances, areas of whatever core area of your life it is. Take the risk, yo. You deserve that risk. Show up for you. That's the first person you need to show up for. Show up for you in your full capacity. Show up for you in your full, and that ain't a in your head thing. Just allow yourself to have that conversation. Today, I show up for me in my full capacity. Tell me what that looks like. What does that feel like? To honor yourself like that. Because you've been showing up in full capacity for everybody else. So imagine what it's like now for you to show up for you first, for you to take the risk on yourself first. Imagine what that's like, yo. But don't just imagine what's that like. Don't just imagine what that is like. Just allow it. Just allow it, yo. This isn't a long episode. I just wanted to share that story with you because I really want to create a community where we show up. Where we show up for ourselves first, and then we show up for others. Where we show up for ourselves first, then we show up for others, and we show up in who we are. I'm not benefiting you by showing up as your trusted voice of transformation and clarity in the personal development space. What I'm actually doing is blocking somebody who could show up in that space because I'm trying to crowd that space while looking like money, while looking like finances, while looking like financial intelligence, while looking like a financial flow. I'm over here trying to be personal development. And the personal development person is like, yo, I thought this was my appointment. I'm not even trying to push nobody out of the way because why am I push them out of the way? If it's mine, it's mine. When reality is, I want to apologize to you that was trying to show up in the personal development space and I was hogging it. Take your space. I'm taking mine. And I know I look like it. I talk like it. I walk like it. I am it. I embrace it. Because that's how I'm showing up for me. And I'm showing up for you. And because of that, we can flow together, yo. We can flow together. Listen, I'm ready to play an announcement for you. No. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me on today. Show up, yo. Take that risk on yourself, yo. You're worth the risk. Take that risk on yourself. Show up. Surprise yourself. You're dope. You're amazing. You're wonderful. You're intelligent. You're beautiful. You're handsome. You are all of those things and more. Just allow yourself to be. As I always say, create a great day. Walk with purpose, and by all means, embrace your best self. Well, there you have it. That's today's episode of the Multidimensional Intelligence Podcast. If you want to be notified of all future episodes while having access to past episodes, simply subscribe through your preferred listening platform. Also, should you feel inclined, leave us a 5-star rating through Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For access to our exclusive library of content, refer to the show description. Until next time, peace.